I used to hike a lot in college. I went to school in Colorado, surrounded by trails and mountain air. It started out as a way to clear my head after long weeks, but over time it became more of a ritual. I'd pack light, hit a trail early in the morning, and just disappear for a day or two. I wasn't careless about it. I always told someone where I'd be, brought maps, backup batteries, the works. There was this one trail I'd been meaning to do for a while, a stretch of forest about 70 miles outside Durango. It was lesser known, kind of tucked between two more popular parks, but I'd seen it mentioned on a forum for more experienced hikers. People said it was beautiful but rugged, isolated, perfect, I thought. This was late September. The leaves were turning, the air was cool but not cold. I headed out early on a Friday morning. The drive out there was already a little eerie. No cell reception for about the last 45 minutes, and the forest roads were narrow, one lane in some places. I parked at a gravel turnout with an old weathered sign that just said Blue Ridge Trail. The paint was peeling, no one else in sight. I started hiking around 9 a.m. The trail was narrow but clear, tall pine trees, patches of golden aspen. I was maybe 4 or 5 miles in when I passed this weird, rusted-out pickup truck just off the trail. Looked like it had been there for years, the hood missing, the windows busted out. It didn't make sense. There's no way a vehicle could have driven that deep into the woods, no path wide enough. It must have been dragged in before the trail even existed. I took a photo of it because it felt strange. I figured it was just some old abandoned hunting truck. The trail got steeper after that and more remote. I didn't see a single person the entire day. That night, I set up camp in a small clearing near a ridge. It was dead quiet, no owls, no bugs, just the sound of wind moving through the trees. I cooked, ate, zipped up in my sleeping bag around 10. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to crunching, footsteps. Now, animals make noise in the woods all the time, but this was different. Slow, heavy, deliberate, human. I laid completely still, listening. The steps stopped just outside my tent. Whoever it was, they didn't say anything, didn't knock, didn't even try to hide. I could hear breathing, not loud, shallow, like they were trying not to be heard. I didn't move. I had a knife in my pack, but it was at my feet, zipped up. After maybe 2 minutes, which felt like an hour, the footsteps slowly backed away. No flashlight, no voice, just quiet footsteps fading into the forest. I didn't sleep again that night. When the sun came up, I packed up immediately. I felt exposed. I debated going back the way I came, but it was longer, and I figured whoever that was, if it even was someone, would be gone by now. About 2 miles down the trail, I found something that made my stomach drop. Another tent, torn to shreds, holes snapped, like it had been abandoned in a hurry or trashed on purpose. There were still some supplies scattered nearby, a rusted camp stove, a moldy jacket, even a boot lying on its side. But no backpack, no ID, no people. I took a photo and got out of there. Fast. I reported it when I got back to town, showed the photos to a ranger. He looked at them for a long time and said, "That area is not on the regular maintenance routes. We had a guy go missing out there 4 years ago. Never found him. Could be related." They never followed up. I haven't gone hiking alone since. And I still think about those footsteps, how they stopped right outside my tent and just waited, not moving, not talking, just listening. I don't like talking about this, but it still comes back to me sometimes, especially when I'm out in the woods alone, which isn't often anymore. This happened about 6 years ago in Utah. I used to do this thing where I'd challenge myself to find the most remote trails I could, not just off the beaten path, but well off it. No cell reception, no other hikers, just complete isolation. That kind of thing used to calm me. It gave me a break from everything. There's this place called Fish Lake National Forest. Massive area. Some parts get tourists, sure, but others, especially way out toward the eastern range, barely see a soul. I found this old logging road on a topo map, not even marked as a current trail. It led to a ridgeline that apparently had an incredible view at sunrise. I packed up my gear, told my roommate where I'd be, rough GPS coordinates at least, and drove out Friday afternoon. The sun was low when I parked on the side of the logging road and hiked in a few miles. I made camp just inside a thick stand of pine trees. Everything was normal that night. Quiet, peaceful. The weirdness didn't start until the next day. Midway through my hike to the ridge, I saw someone standing in the distance, near the tree line, maybe 200 feet away. Just standing, not moving. I could tell it was a man wearing a jacket and jeans. Face was hard to make out, but he was staring right at me. At first I thought maybe he was a hunter, but I didn't see a weapon, and when I waved, he didn't wave back. He just turned and walked into the trees. It gave me this weird feeling, but I kept hiking. I figured maybe he didn't hear me, or maybe he was just shy. I don't know. It stuck with me though. Something about how he moved, not hurried, not casual, just robotic. I made it to the ridge and set up camp again. That night, it got cold. I was bundled up in my sleeping bag, dead quiet out, when I started hearing snapping, like branches breaking, not far from my tent. Again, animals are normal out here. I've heard elk, coyotes, even the occasional bear. But this was different. The steps were slow, deliberate, and then they stopped, for a long time. And then I heard a sound that chilled me more than anything I've ever heard before. A low whistle. 3 notes, slow, off-key, coming from somewhere just outside my tent. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. My knife was under my pillow, but I didn't dare unzip the tent. I just laid there, heart pounding, trying to convince myself I imagined it. After what felt like forever, silence. I didn't sleep that night. At first light, I got up, packed, and started hiking fast. The ridge trail loops back around and takes you through lower elevation. As I made my way down, I kept checking behind me because I knew I wasn't alone out there. I didn't see him again, not at first, but about 2 hours in, I came around a bend in the trail and stopped cold. Right in the middle of the path, sticking out of the ground, was a branch, jammed into the dirt like a marker. Tied to the top of it was a shoelace, a black shoelace, same brand and color as the ones on my boots. Now, I know how that sounds. Could have been anyone's, could have been nothing. But I'd checked my gear that morning, both shoes laced, and now one was missing. I didn't stop to investigate. I didn't take a photo. I didn't even think. I ran all the way back to the car. I didn't hear footsteps, no whistling, nothing chasing me. But I've never felt fear like that in my life. The kind that feels animal, like something primal is watching you, hunting you. I got back to my car and drove. Didn't stop until I hit signal again. I didn't call the cops. What would I even say? There was no crime, no proof. Just that someone had followed me into the woods, watched me, got close enough to take my shoelace without waking me up. That's not normal behavior. That's something else. I haven't gone hiking alone since, and I never will again. I used to do a lot of hiking solo, mostly up in the Sierra Nevada range, long weekends where I just disconnect. It wasn't about pushing my limits or going ultra light or anything. I just liked the silence. The reset. This happened in 2021, late spring. Snow was mostly melted up top, so I planned a 2-night loop through an area called Desolation Wilderness. It's beautiful, but remote. No roads, no phone signal. If something happens out there, you're on your own. Day 1 was smooth. I started around 7 a.m., made it about 10 miles in, found a spot near a lake, and set up camp. I saw a few people on the way in, couples, some older guys with fly rods, but by the time I got to camp, I was alone. Or so I thought. Around sunset, I'm sitting on a rock eating dinner when I notice movement about 100 yards back, near the trees. Just a shape at first. I squinted, thinking maybe it was a deer. But then it stepped forward, and it was a guy, alone, just standing there. He wasn't on the trail, he wasn't carrying a pack, just a dark hoodie, cargo pants, and what looked like hiking boots. I raised a hand, just kind of a casual wave, no reaction. He didn't wave back, didn't move, just stared. I called out, "You good, man?" Still nothing. He turned and walked back into the trees. Not hurried, not lost looking, just walked off. Now I've run into weird people in the backcountry before, but something about this guy stuck with me. He had no gear, no water, no flashlight. It was already getting dark, and there was no reason for him to be out there, unless he'd hiked miles and just to stand in the woods and watch someone. I barely slept that night. Every little crack of a twig had me sitting up, clutching the knife I kept next to my sleeping pad. Next morning, I packed up fast and got back on the trail. I figured if he was some random hiker, I'd pass his camp or run into him again. But I didn't. What I did find, about an hour later, was a small clearing just off the trail, not obvious unless you were really looking. In the middle of it were the remains of a fire pit, still warm, and shoe prints, deep ones. The same boot tread I'd seen on the guy. No tarp, no gear, just a burnt circle and prints heading back into the woods, in a direction that didn't lead to any trail, lake, or campsite. I picked up the pace. I made it to my second night's planned spot by mid-afternoon and decided I wasn't going to stay there. I was too wired. I pushed straight through and hiked back out in one long, exhausting day. Never saw him again. But that image, a guy alone, deep in the woods, no pack, no expression, just standing there watching, it's burned into my memory. He wasn't lost, he wasn't a hiker. He was out there on purpose, and whatever he was doing, I wasn't supposed to see it.